Twice the terror.
Welcome to Twice the Terror. I'm Ryan.
And I'm the swamp hag of spooky. That's an actual comment we got on one of our YouTube videos. Cat, the swamp hag of spooky. I only want to be referred to as that from now on.
We'll get you t-shirts made. We'll get you t-shirts made.
Yeah.
Well, we are your hosts, and we're very fortunate today that we have two fantastic guest stars on the show. It is the co-hosts of Paranormal in Pennsylvania. It is Erica and Sarah. Say hi, guys. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for
Happy
being
to
on
have
the
you.
show. So, do you guys want to talk about your show a little bit, like what it is, where we can find you, all that stuff, before we jump into the topic for this week?
Sure. So the podcast is Paranormal in Pennsylvania, and we discuss history and hauntings. So our podcast is structured where we go through the history and then kind of talk about the hauntings in parallel to the history. Anything to add, Erica?
Yes, our Instagram is just Paranormal in Pennsylvania. That's where we post updates for everything. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that sums it up.
Awesome. What platform are you guys? You guys are on Spotify. Are you on any other platforms at the moment?
Yes, we also post on YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend if you like our show and you're looking for another like paranormal show, you cannot go wrong with Sarah and Erica's show. It's so good, it's fantastic. It's just I tell them all the time, like if our show is Morning Zoo, their show is like calm, nice, relaxing, like total.
They're NPR and we're Mikey and Bob in the morning.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So they were kind enough to join us this week, and we have a really interesting topic. What are we talking about this week, Kat?
Well, we were going to do ladies in white and women in black. So our favorite stories of female ghosts that are monochromatic.
Yeah, or, and it doesn't have to just be that, but like your typical, what I tend to associate with this type of story is like, you often hear about like, there was a prom queen who was hit by a car on the side of the road and now she walks down that highway, or like, there was a, like a scorned, widow who appears in windows. It's like, it's that type of ghost story that, we've all know the legends of, and it seems like every city has kind of their version of that legend. And I've got a really cool one. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I got a cool one this week. But does anyone want to start us off? Kat, do you want to start us with the first story?
Yeah, sure. Let's journey back mentally to the 19th century, back when Pittsburgh's downtown Forbes Avenue used to be called Diamond Alley. Back in November of 1894, Diamond Alley became this quasi-tourist attraction as hundreds of locals were gathering outside of this small two-story frame house that was on the north side or the right side of the street. This is going to sound really esoteric, but if you're ever on the 7-Eleven on Forbes next to the Target and you're looking down heading towards the Point, you're looking over on the right side of that street.
That's the epitome of Pittsburgh directions right there.
I'm basically using locations that don't exist anymore as like markers.
Well, it's so hard because downtown isn't on a grid, so it's all diagonal. So the GPS does not work. This is the only way we can give directions. You know what I mean?
It's true, yeah.
It's true.
Pittsburgh was designed to keep invaders, mostly Ohio, out. Like downtown is a defense mechanism. It weeds out the weak. So in the heart of downtown on what used to be Diamond Alley, that's where Mr. and Mrs. Metz had once lived. Every night, these locals were gathering outside of this house looking for the woman in white who would regularly appear in the window and stare forlornly out on the street below, always between the hours of 7 and 10 o'clock at night. And of course, this appearance tended to scare I don't want to say the word, but it tended to scare the locals because this woman was Mrs. Metz and she had died 6 months previously. So this is her ghost showing up in her bedroom window, staring out at the street. People began to notice, though, that Mrs. Metz wasn't showing up every night. Like, she was only showing up on cold, damp, dreary, rainy days whenever the weather was at its worst. And if it was sunny, she didn't show up. And my theory is because at the end of the day, dead or not, Mrs. Metz is a true Pittsburgher. If the weather isn't absolute trash, like...
Yep.
That's what I was going to say. It's
really
always
it's
like
here.
rainy and gloomy.
Yep.
Like, she's thinking about it. She's like, oh, there's no construction and the sun's out. Oh, no. It's not the marathon. Oh, no, not today, no. Sarah, Erica, do either of you want to have any, like, tell a story or have anything you want to throw in?
Yeah.
Sure, I can go. I have the White Lady of Whoopsie, which I may or may not have chosen just for the name.
I love this title.
Fantastic.
So this ghost haunts Wapsanock Mountain. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Where is that at?
The Allegheny Mountains. It's not that far, apparently.
Okay. I see. I mean, I can't be shocked, especially Pennsylvania has some weirdly named things.
Monongahela, Chincoteague. I mean, it's really hard.
Middlesex. What are like Moon, PA, like, you know, all those.
My dad used to have this. My dad used to have this hat that said Intercourse, PA, and I was like, Dad, you can't wear this. That's just not
such a dad thing.
I know.
I'm not going to try to repeat the mountain name because there's no way I'll get it a second time.
That's fair.
But this ghost dates back to the 1930s. That's like the first historical record they have of it. And the town actually conducted a ghost hunt because it was so prevalent back then. So the whole town went up this mountain to look for this woman. There's two versions of how she came to haunt this mountain, and they both start off the same. So the story goes that newlyweds were traveling up the mountain in a carriage. There's a famously deadly curve known as Devil's Elbow, and then here's where it goes a few ways. So one story says that when she rounded Devil's Elbow, her newborn baby flew out the window.
Oh my God.
How fast is this carriage going? Like, they're...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, it's like night up a mountain. Is your window open? I don't know. I guess
You're holding the baby slightly out the window.
Yeah.
My baby needs air.
Yeah.
Hold on, baby. This is gonna be sick.
My baby can do a sweet trick. Watch this.
The other story is that they crashed on the sharp curve and her husband was decapitated instantly. So the common thread between them is she's there looking for something. It's either her baby or her husband's head. So she haunts.
Yeah, maybe.
That's what I thought. You know, it could be
Volcano Listos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so she appears to be crying, of course, when people see her, dressed in a long flowing white dress and holding a lantern. So she's period specific. There are reports of her appearing at the curve almost as a signal to people to slow down, as if she doesn't want her accident to be recreated. But she starts to fade as people approach the curve, or people have said they follow her up the mountain and then she disappears right before the curve, which is also freaky. And if you try to chase her, she gets faster. So people have said that if you speed up your car, she's going to speed up too, which is crazy.
You know, we have a story. I don't. This episode, as of this recording, this episode hasn't aired yet. But we have a story about a local bar with a ghost that likes to speed up and do. We call him, we call him a Harold Left because he's like NASCAR. He's constantly circling, and it's like, what is up with these ghosts? Like, you try to catch up with them, and suddenly they're like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and they're like,
right.
Did you just make a Dale Earnhardt joke on a ghost podcast?
I did, and I don't even. That's the only. To be fair, that's the only NASCAR driver I would probably know. I am not a NASCAR fan, so that would be.
Praise Hail, praise Dale.
Yeah. All I know is like, go fast, turn left, big crash. That's all I know about NASCAR. That should be their slogan. Should hire me.
Yeah.
And to do the voiceover for it.
Yeah. NASCAR.
Yes.
Yeah. Go fast.
So the White Lady of Whoopsie, who has had a whoopsie, we know her. She's a runner. She's a track star. So
yeah.
She's got
and the crazy thing is she will be in people's car. So it said only certain points, if you chase her, she'll run. You can also, it's like the classic stop the car, offer her a ride, she'll get in trope.
Mm-hmm.
So if you offer her a ride at the bottom of the mountain, she'll ride in the car. People say that she sits quietly, smiling, and is very beautiful, but never says anything. And if the driver looks in the rearview mirror, she can't be seen. But at Devil's Elbow, she vanishes from the car.
Okay. Here's the thing. We live in a world that who is picking up hitchhikers still? Like
I don't know.
Like who is out there? And not to mention, put aside all the actual like real life dangers. How many ghost stories are like, I picked up this person and they vanished? It's like I don't want to deal with that. Like not to mention it could just be some crazy person who just wants to like, eat my liver or something. Like I don't need I don't need that.
But who do you think that is? Like, right. People don't just walk around carrying a lantern in period clothing.
At a place called Devil's Elbow. Like that's just bad news all over the place. Like I'm not stopping my car at that point to pick.
What's her Uber rating as like a rider?
I mean 4 stars. You knock her a star because, she disappears. Tip. Yeah, didn't tip.
Didn't tip.
I know that she speeds up when the car speeds up, right? But when she's in the car, does she notice that like it's mechanical and is moving probably faster than what things were back then? You know what I mean?
Good point.
Yeah, that's the other question I have.
Yeah, is she like sitting back there just like, what in blazes in tarnation is happening?
Yes.
She's like, also, you really need to slow down.
Also, she has to be like confused by how fast a car can go because like I don't care how fast her carriage was going. It must fast enough to make her baby go like flying out the window. But like that even still, I'm guessing this is probably not the world's like biggest like road. You know what I mean? If it's winding up a mountain and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're getting maybe 2 to 4 horses like at max, like pulling this carriage. It's not going to go faster than a car. I would guess. I mean, I may be way wrong on that, but like, has she just adapted? Like, did she, as another thing we've talked about other episodes, like, did she adapt her clothing to the time frame of the, like, does she look, because from what you were saying, Sarah, she's still dressed in like old timey clothes with like a lantern and stuff. So it's like, unless there's like a reenactment going on the mountain or something, why would you pick up anybody dressed like that?
Yeah, especially when it's such a prominent ghost. Like literally the whole town knows. It said that the resort at the top advertises that she's there. And I mean, I guess if it was people like us, we might do it, right? We'd be like, let's try it.
They'd be like, yeah, bitch, we're going shopping. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So this is the thing. If you go up there and you encounter her, you need to bring 2 things, like 2 offerings for her, all right? One is like a car seat. Bring her a baby car seat, because maybe that'll help. The other is like some Elmer's glue or some crazy glue, something to glue her husband's head back on. Mm-hmm. Because you never know which story is true. And so, these are ways to solve this problem. Maybe that's all she's looking for is some $1.95 crazy glue and, a car seat for her child. We don't know.
We should take her to Target. That's where we should take her shopping. That has everything.
Yes.
But you'll never get past the turn. She can never go.
True.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Well, then here's the solution.
A Target.
Yeah. Dollar General. All right. There's
Online
Dollar
shopping.
Generals everywhere. So we get one.
And we have General everywhere.
We have them
on the side of the mountain.
Yeah. Side of the mountain. It was a Dollar General there. Like, I wouldn't even be shocked at this point. Anywhere I go, I'm like, there's a Dollar General there. If it was on the side of Devil's Elbow, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. I'm going to go in and get some Dollar General exclusive Mountain Dew flavors, a car seat, and some Elmer's glue. Be good to go. It sounds like we got to take a camping trip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go up to the mountain, go up to Devil's Elbow, and see if we can find her.
My husband was saying he wants to go camping really bad, and I saw that on your Instagram post about the Area 21 of PA. So I was like, here you go, boyo. Let's go.
There you go. Make it spooky.
You got it. It's the best way to make camping exciting. Otherwise, you're just sitting around, trying to get a fire started with Fritos, you know, and just like, have you never done that, Kat?
Oh,
yeah,
probably because I'm too busy eating them.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, like Fritos, Doritos, chips like that make really good fire starters because of all the oil and grease in them. So like, as long as you have a like bag of those, you can get a fire started pretty quickly. Good safety tip.
I genuinely. Well, I also thought you were talking about eating them.
I mean, you should. You don't need that many to start a fire. So, I mean, you know, right. And you got a bag of Fritos.
I'm from Appalachia. Those are precious, precious gold. You can't be burning them. That's.
Well, okay. Fritos or Doritos? What of the Eatos? What are we going for?
I would rather eat a Dorito and burn a Frito.
Yes, true. Unless it's Frito boats. All right, if we're talking about taking them and putting chili on them and, you know, things like that, then it might be a tough call. You know, did you guys never do that?
Opposite.
You feel the opposite, Erica?
Yes, so I can't have cheese, so Fritos for the win for me.
See, I have a dairy allergy, and I don't care.
Well, they have other flavors of Doritos that aren't just cheese too. I mean, the Flamin' Hot Cool Ranch are now like top tier. This is a Doritos podcast at this point, just in case anybody was wondering.
Yes. These are the hot topics that you turn into Twice the Terror.
Tune in this week when Ryan, Kat, and guests discuss Doritos. You know,
and like ghost Dorito dances across the screen.
Don't tempt me. I'll get that made into a shirt.
We'll never have Erica or Sarah back on the show again. They're like, they'll be like, that was great, thanks. They'll log off and be like, they talked about Doritos for like 10 minutes. Like,
I am happy to discuss chips all the time.
That's true. If somebody doesn't like chips, they have a problem. All right, there is some sort of potato chip or a corn chip or whatever chip out there for everybody. You know.
I have a friend, I'm not going to name names, but they don't eat the whole French fry because they don't like the crunchy texture at the end. And
wait, on a French fry?
Yeah.
Like, okay, brand specific French fries or any French fry across the board?
Any French fry. If the end of the French fry is too crunchy,
that's too much work.
The middles. Yeah, like you have to snap each fry in half and just like, and then I'm like, you're losing all the good part.
I mean, I can't even imagine. If I'm eating like McDonald's French fries, I'm shoveling like 10 in my mouth at once. Like, I don't imagine taking the time to like,
right?
You know, I mean, I don't want to judge your friend. Like, eat food however you want.
Oh no, I'm judging them.
Well, you can.
That's how I eat.
If you're listening, and I hope you're
try to start off with like one piece of popcorn, but then I end up just taking handfuls.
Mm-hmm. Popcorn is a good. We've really just evolved into food, but I don't care. Popcorn is a great at-home snack, but I try to avoid getting popcorn at the movie when I went to the movies. I haven't been in years after the pandemic and everything, but like I won't get popcorn at the movies unless it's kettle corn and I really want it, because I have the worst luck with popcorn. Even before the movie has started, trailers will be going on. I will eat a single piece and there will be a kernel stuck in my teeth for the entire movie. And
the devil's kernel.
Yes. It's constant, and like now movies are like 3 hours long, so for 3 hours I'm trying to get a kernel out of my tooth. It's just the worst. I'll just stick with like peanut M&Ms or something, like. But anyway, awesome. Well, that's actually a really cool story and one I had not heard, so I'm gonna add that to my list of like places in PA to go traveling and like check out.
And you said it was in the Allegheny Mountains?
Yeah, it's less than 2 hours from Pittsburgh, actually.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's nothing.
Wow. Yeah. That's a day trip. Like,
yeah. That would be a cool thing to go check out. Absolutely. Awesome. Erica, did you have anything that you want to talk about? I didn't know if you brought one or...
I did. Okay, so I researched the White Lady of Pond Bank, which I am excited about. So she is also known as just the White Woman or the White Witch. And she's in Franklin County, which is like southern border of the state in the middle. It's like a little triangle.
Okay.
And So it didn't exactly say when the legend started, and there was actually a book in 2018 that claimed that it was started by pranksters, by two teenagers that had like dressed a dummy up in women's clothing and swung it from the trees. But most people claim that these legends have been going on before that. So it's like not likely that at least they heard the stories and then created the prank, if the prank existed in the 1950s. So she is seen in the woods and fields area of Pond Bank and on this road called Loop Road. And she appears in a long white dress. People have also reported that her facial expressions are haunted or bewildered. So she's like kind of confused when you see her. And sometimes she's seen with a tiny little ghost dog, but I could not find an explanation for that.
So she's just chilling on the side of the road, just looking like lost.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's me.
And so when me when I have to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Just go to the 7-Eleven, past the Target, buy the McDonald's.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly, Sarah.
You're going to take 2 hills up, and then on your right, there's going to be a turn. It's going to look like an alleyway, but it's not. It's a street, and you're going to go...
You know, the old bowling alley used to be in Swissvale. You're going to go, like, 2 blocks down from there. And any opportunity to do the accent, I will take it. I'm sorry. Again, we've divulged. Like, this must be like being trapped with.
Yeah, this is the madness of our podcast. It's like, this is how we end up with 2.5-hour episodes where we're like, what did we talk about? I don't even remember. And then I'm like frantically like editing, like, what are we doing? What is happening in this episode? Cut out this 25-minute segment.
And I'm just making my TikToks like, la, la, la. Like, I have no idea what he has to deal with. I'm like chugging Mountain Dew, and I'm just like, oh, where am I? How long is this episode now?
Okay. Mountain Dew is the drink of champions.
It is. I mean, look, there is a flavor of Mountain Dew for every occasion. You know, wedding, get a Mountain Dew. Funeral, get a Mountain Dew. And Mountain Dew is one of the like best like soda. We are not Mountain Dew. If you want to sponsor us, we'd really appreciate it. But Mountain Dew is one of the few sodas where they do a lot of like 0 sugar flavors, which is great. You know, for me, I like to drink those. Like you can get like 0 sugar variations on a lot of their stuff. So it's not just like one flavor, but I do enjoy it. But anyway, what were we back to Erica, back to your story.
There's a dead woman with a dog.
There's no Mountain Dew in your story. Is there? Does she drink Mountain Dew?
You know what? There's not, but there should be. You know, it should have been around.
Yeah, let's just add it to the legend. But, she really likes Mountain Dew Code Red, just so everybody knows.
Code Red's my fave. Can't complain.
Yeah, there you go.
It's my fave. So whenever people do encounter her, basically she'll either leap up onto the hood of your car as you're driving, or she'll suddenly appear in front of moving vehicles, and they'll basically causing them to swerve out of the way of an accident that's not really happening. She basically like is the accident. Like she'll jump in front of a car.
She's problematic.
So she's causing the accident. She's not trying to like prevent an accident, like make a car swerve so it doesn't hit another car. She's the problem. Yes. It's her high. Yes. It's the problem.
She is the problem. Hello.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. And according to local legends, she's a ghost woman looking for a lost lover or child who drowned, or it's possible that she was the person who drowned.
Okay.
So, bear with me. So, she's known as the White Woman or the White Witch, but we're going to go with the White Woman. She has a dog. She jumps in front of people's cars. This is a Karen.
I cannot tell you how much I thought about that last night. I literally was like, she is named White Woman. She is Karen.
No, the reason she's stopping your car, she's saving her parking spot. Her daughter's doing the loop, and her daughter's going to come in and take that spot.
So she's looking for a drowned. She either drowned or like she's looking for a drowned child or something of that nature. But do we know how she died? Like, is there any?
So, on the actual sources that I looked at, there wasn't like a clear picture, but Franklin Historical Society posted this on Facebook and people commented. So this is like local people who have like been hearing this story basically passed down, which was really cool. So one person had said that the white lady was traveling down a dirt road and her carriage was run off of the road by another vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Multiple people have heard the story that she is looking for her baby, and some have stated that they heard it was because the baby had been run over by a train while she was doing laundry.
Jeez.
So specific.
So, that is incredibly specific.
What? Yes,
What is up with people of this time period that they can't like I get it. I'm not a parent, but parenting, I can imagine how hard it is.
You're not gonna put your kid on the train tracks and go do some laundry.
Who's like, go play with those train tracks, or I'm gonna put my baby out the window, or like all like these.
Even if the kid, okay, I'm trying to humor this, that like what happened to this woman, and be like, okay, so maybe she's doing laundry and the kid crawled out of the house and crawled to the train tracks. Do you live right next to the train tracks? Like, how long were you ignoring this kid? Like,
right. Agreed.
CPS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the kid drowned, which is a possibility. Like, these parents are just the worst in these stories. And then they're always sad. They're like, where is my baby? But it's like, that's on you.
I'm not going to judge the white lady of Whoopsie. Okay. The lady in white of Whoopsie Mountain or Whoopie Pie Mountain. It's not her fault. She didn't have a car seat. You can't blame her for that.
I mean, it's not like a carriage is like, they have doors typically. So for the baby to have flown out the window of her carriage, like,
he was strapped on top of the luggage.
Yeah.
And like,
I don't know who's the worst parent at this point.
Not only is it flying out the window, but how bouncy is it? Right? So this is something I was thinking about. The scientist in me, I'm like, what are the physics of this? Like, not only does it fly out the window, but it manages to go, like, bounce and fall down the ravine.
All right, I have a theory. Here's my hypothesis. Does anyone have a baby we can drop?
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I have a great idea for our next research project. Hear me out.
Let's worry about Crohn's later. I got a question.
Yeah. More importantly, can you bounce a baby?
What is the recoil of a baby?
So anyway, Erica, is there anything, any more like accounts or anything else to the story? Any other layers to it?
The last thing I'll say is that basically people have had weird experiences there, of course. So like technology has gone wrong. People's cars wouldn't start, or their phones would die if they were at 90% within like 25 minutes, which is pretty crazy. And people have said, 2 comments said that they saw the figure when they took a picture and it came back with like red eyes, which is a little crazy.
Yeah. She sounds a lot less friendly than the Whoopsie woman. Like, she just seems way more like not cool.
No.
She's clinging onto your hood like, I want to talk to your manager.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm gonna add that to the list of things I never want to come into contact with.
Yeah, that's another one where I'm
agreed.
like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to run into her. Especially like, just like, leave my driving skills alone. People already say I drive like a grandma, all right? Like, I'm taking my time when I drive. Like, I don't need the terror of somebody jumping onto my car to just give me like the fright of my life. I don't need that.
Yeah.
One time I was driving on 376 and I got my hand stuck in a Pringles can. So as I'm driving, like I'm passing the Carnegie exit, so like I'm turning, hand in a Pringles can, stuck, and I'm like, see, I'm thinking about this moment. I'm like, if this woman jumped in front of me, rip again, like,
right,
yeah, you're finna die twice.
I'll start my story, and I wanted to go last because this story is very fascinating to me. It's a story that I learned because it is a personal story from my wife, Shannon. This story happened to her, and I love this story. When we were first dating, I remember it was like one of the first stories, because we both love paranormal stuff, and it was one of the first stories she shared with me of something that happened to her. And I think it fits right into this category. So this story happened when Shannon was in her preteen. She was telling me today that it was probably between like being 10 and 12, somewhere in that age range. And it was on a trip that her mother and her grandmother had gone on to Salem, Massachusetts. Somewhere they had like been before. They used to take trips there all the time, and they loved it. So this story happened actually on their way back from one of their trips to Salem. It's nighttime, and they're driving down a road. She described it not like a highway, but it is like a main drive. Like it's a main road that they were driving down. They were driving through, for a while, probably kind of like passing through little towns as they went and stuff. And at one point, Shannon was like, "Oh, I kind of got to use, the restroom." And her mom was like, "Oh, do you really need to go? Can you like hold it as you do, when you're a kid? Your parents always like, do you really got to go to the bathroom? Do we have to pull over?" She's like, "No, I'll be okay." And then she told me that like 20 minutes later, she was like, "No, actually, we should probably stop so I can use the restroom." She was like, "Okay." So they're pulling off the road, and they pull into like a travel lodge. Like one of those places where you can stop and you can get food and you can use the restroom, and like kind of like what we have on like the turnpike, but not quite like one of those, but like a station like that. And they're pulling into it, and she said that it was on the left side of the road. And as they're driving by it, kind of sitting outside the travel lodge, is this woman sitting there waiting for she was waiting for a bus. Like she was sitting there on all this old timey luggage. And there were two things that really stood out to Shannon while she was like pulling in and seeing this woman sitting there. Well, three things technically. One is the fact that her suitcases, like I said, big old timey suitcases. They weren't like rolling suitcases, nothing like that. They weren't modern at all. They were like big trunks that you would have back in the day. She said she also was not dressed for the occasion at all. She was very like formal, wearing this like skirt, or this like dress, and she had a scarf on. She remembered that specifically, that there was this very distinct scarf she was wearing. And everyone in the car, her mom and her grandmother, everyone saw her. And they were all a little confused because like there's not a bus station there. Like it looked like she was waiting for something like on the side of the road, but there's no bus sign. There's no, place that you would sit and wait for travel, anything like that. She was just sitting on the side of the road. And so they're all a little confused because it's summertime, right? People are like walking around in shorts and t-shirts and stuff. And for her to be wearing this very formal kind of like dress with the scarf and this old timey amount of luggage and everything, just very odd. But they kind of just think nothing of it. They kind of shake it off. Plus they were leaving Salem. I mean, you never know, who's dressed in what, if it was someone who worked in Salem.
I feel like there'd be a lot of people. Yeah. Like, sorry to interrupt, but I feel like there's a lot of people like who dress up for the occasion of going to Salem. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I had a friend who went, and of course she went in like all of her regalia, with the old-timey blouse, and she had her big witch's hat and stuff on. So she's probably thinking at first that this woman is like in costume, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So they're perplexed, but they kind of are just like, oh, okay, whatever. They go in. It doesn't like impede what they're doing, So they go into the restroom, do what they need to. Shannon said they were only there for like 5, like maybe 10 minutes max. They go in there. And then they come back out. And as they're coming out and getting into their car, they look over and the woman's gone. And so this is weird because, again, they've only been in there for a few minutes. And the amount of luggage and the like big luggage that this woman had and everything, there's no sign that like she got helped into a car or that a bus pulled by or someone came and picked her up or anything. So it's like, it's not impossible, but it's odd that like this woman is just like gone, like completely. And so they're like, that's so bizarre. But they're like, maybe we missed the bus or something like that. So they get back in the car. And as Shannon put it today, they're driving down the road for maybe 2 minutes, like not long at all. They're going down the road, and all of a sudden cars come to a stop. And they see an ambulance go driving by, with its sirens going. And they're able to pull forward, and they see that where this ambulance has stopped is where a vehicle has very clearly crashed. And so, people were like slowly going, past it. And Shannon and her mom and everybody's like a little like taken aback because they're like, we just left 2 minutes ago. Like if we had left any sooner or not stopped to see that woman, that could have been us.
Yeah.
And so they're already kind of like, wow, that's crazy. But the thing that made it even more crazy was as they passed by the car, the trunk of this crashed car is open. And inside of this trunk is this old-timey luggage and this scarf that this woman was wearing hanging out the back of the trunk. So they're, of course, like taking it in, but like it's one of those things that like doesn't really sink in completely. Like it's, how that is, like you recognize stuff and you can make connections, but it's not till like time later that you're suddenly like, oh my God, I just made this crazy connection.
Yeah.
So the next day, it's after they're home, Shannon and her mom decide to go to a thrift store, and they're looking around and everything. And all of a sudden, Shannon finds this. This is exactly what the woman looked like on the side of the road.
I'm gonna throw up.
So, and she's even like sitting on like something old timey. She's sitting down. This is the same thing, blonde hair, like the statue has. That's how the woman had, dressed in this old timey garb with the old timey luggage, sitting like she's waiting for something. And they find this and they go, oh my God, this is her. This is who we saw. So Shannon buys this. She's had it since then. And it sits in her office, just kind of like looking over everything because they kind of think of it as a positive thing. Because if they hadn't seen this person, they could have been in that accident.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So that's her.
I have chills. That's like mind-blowing.
I know.
Yeah. Now I feel dumb for telling this story about this lady who hates bad weather. Like...
But that's our show, right? That's the fun thing about it. You never know what we're going to do, what kind of like stories we're going to bring, what we're going to talk about it. And that's the thing. Like every story has its place. Nothing wrong with the Metz story. It's a fantastic story. I just particularly love this because when we came up with this topic, it felt like that is exactly an example of that.
It's the
and
vibe.
It comes back in so many layers, seeing the woman, seeing seeing the trunk of the crashed car with her stuff in it, with her scarf, and then finding the statue that looks exactly how the woman was dressed. Like somebody was looking out for them that day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I feel
That's
like
such
a lot of
cool story.
Yeah, isn't it? She told me that,
incredible.
And we've had our own stories together, like ghost stories at Gettysburg and all kinds of stuff. But that's a story that I particularly love. And when she told it to me, I was just like, that is a fantastic story. Plus, they have multiple people who saw it. Her mom, her grandmother, like all these people were people who witnessed it as well. So there's some
multiple eyewitnesses that all corroborate each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like your story, Ryan, is kind of very similar in a sense to Sarah's, where it's like this is a woman who is warning people.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to alert you or send you a message. Erica, Karen's a Karen.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Metz, like, there's value to her story, but Mrs. Metz just chilling in her window, being like, ugh.
The sun. Ugh. I hate it. It's the rain.
They're all kind of sending us a message of some kind, and your message, Brian, about yours and Sarah's about like being careful on the road and travel, and Erica, same thing, like being careful on the road. Look where you're, who could be on the road. For me, are there clouds? What's traffic going to be like? Is the park going to be crowded? I don't know. Are people going to start driving slower on the parkway because it's raining and they don't know how to drive in the rain? That's a different rant. I'm sorry.
Well, Well, that's the thing. I think this is a topic we could always revisit too. We have many topics like that, but I think this is one too where there are so many local legends where people have seen this, and that's what's fascinating to me. Is it's like you think, okay, it's an urban legend, right? Like the idea of like I said at the beginning of the podcast, the prom queen, or the woman who was widowed, or things like that. Like these are urban legends that are passed from place to place to place. But there's so many people that have a version of this that is a personal experience to them. Mm-hmm. That makes you go, it always makes me wonder how much of this is ghost sightings that are from historic events and how much of it is people willing this thing into existence. You know what I mean? Is it this idea that like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did we know the ghost story because it happened, or did we tell the ghost stories and therefore we created the ghost?
Yeah, we on an episode we just recorded that's not yet released, we talk about the idea of residual haunting. Mm-hmm. And the idea that like the energy, like you're saying, like the energy that people are putting into the universe is perpetuating these hauntings and like keeping it running, which I hadn't heard before. I think it's such an interesting concept of, like you're saying, willing it into existence.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree. So it's a fascinating topic. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. Like, yes. I had a blast talking about this. I thank you for bringing 2 fantastic stories as well, because I'd never heard those. So I love hearing it. And just, again, for anybody listening, check out their podcast, Paranormal in Pennsylvania. It's fantastic. It's a great show. And again, I hope you guys will come back sometime. We had a really great...
thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Well, Kat, do you want to close us out for this episode?
Well, those are our stories for this evening. And on behalf of Mrs. Metz, Karen, the white lady of Whoopsie, and the lady with the scarf, I still have chills from that. Anyways, on behalf of these 4 women, thank you so much for listening to our stories.
All right, everyone. Until next time.
Bye.